If there's one thing about alcohol, ladies and gentlemen, it would be that no matter in what scenario you drink, for the most part, there will always be a drunken argument. Most of you watching this video, drinkers or not, have more than likely been on a night out, been at a house party, or somewhere else, and it started to get a little bit too intense, maybe even to a point that a fight starts to break out. All this thanks to none other than your good old friend, alcohol. But if you follow crime stories like myself, then you'll know that this can go one step further, and intoxicated people with their impaired state of mind go on to kill. I mean, it was only yesterday we seen the story of brothers Samuel and William Campbell, who ended up in a drunken argument which seen one of them dead and the other facing life in prison after a criminal court trial. Drinking can give you nights to remember, good or bad, and for one small community in Oldham, up in the north of England, on one May's evening of this year, 2021, would be the catalyst to a domino effect of events that will be remembered for quite literally the rest of their lives. Reports don't give us an exact date of where this story starts, but from key bits of information I've researched, I'd say we'd have to go to around the end of March 2021. On this date, members of the Marler family had been having a get-together in the Limeside estate, Oldham. One of the aunts of 17-year-old Cole Marler, who's a key figure in this story, had been having a party when her unnamed boyfriend, and at the time 25-year-old Macaulay MacDonald, had a drunken row. Again, the backstory into the catalyst is very vague, so forgive me because we don't exactly know what this argument was about. But it was said that the two started out with good vibes, and it was only when they got drunk it kicked off. So it could have been over something trivial. Either way, Macaulay was asked to leave, and from here, it was bad blood. You see, what had happened was, after this had went down, it kind of split everyone apart, some siding with Cole's aunt's boyfriend, others Macaulay, and in retaliation for being asked to leave, Cole's aunt had her windows smashed in by none other than Macaulay and the people associated with him. She would also go on to allegedly be attacked as well. No reported events then take place for a few weeks. It goes quiet, but towards the end of May, Cole decided to get back for his aunt, so he turned up to Macaulay's home with two unnamed men and kicked at the door. They don't manage to break it down or even get a hold of Macaulay, so they retreat and go about their business. By now though, the feud had fully escalated to a point where people were looking to kill, and on the 26th of May 2021, a man, a father-to-be, would have his life taken away over a petty feud, something that he wasn't even necessarily involved in to start with. On the 26th of May 2021, 20-year-old Fraser McDonald, 23-year-old Josh Newport, and 25-year-old Charlie Elms, all associated with Macaulay, had been driving around the Limeside estate in Oldham when they seen the boyfriend of Cole's aunt. They proceeded to have a big argument with him, but no physical altercation took place. The trio then left and went to the pub. Later that afternoon, Cole was seen roaming around the same road the argument had took place in, speaking with people including his aunt's boyfriend. Everything then goes quiet for a few hours, with Cole captured playing football with a small child, and then out of nowhere at around 5 PM, a blue Corsa pulled up with 6 men inside. This is what happened next. Charlie McCauley, Fraser Josh, Luke Cloran and Kian Bob Manuel pulled up outside Carl's aunt's home in that blue Corsa. Just like you've seen in the video, they went on to attack the house. Carl, 39-year-old Melvin Whelan, 18-year-old Elliot Matthews and a 16-year-old boy ran into the house when they seen the car arrive to shield themselves from the pending attack. But the group decided to fight back and instantly the tables turned. The hunter became the hunted. Carl emerged from the house armed with a knife. There was actually two 16-year-old boys who were armed with a meat cleaver and a knife, whilst Melvin threw a bottle of beer at the group. 4 of the 6 who initially decamped from the car had managed to get back inside, but for Charlie and Josh, they had been left on foot, now being hunted by the knife-wielding teens. The pair desperately tried to escape, running for their lives, but as the chase went on to nearby 3rd Avenue, this is when things took a turn for the worse. As they sprinted around the corner, they both slipped, and unfortunately for Charlie, Carl managed to catch up to him and gave him a knife blow to his back. Carl then picked up Charlie's machete and retreated, whilst Charlie himself managed to continue to run for a short period. He actually scaled a wall, but ultimately that single stab wound to his back made him collapse and he would go on to die. McCauley, Fraser, Josh, Luke, Kian, Melvin, Elliot and the 2 16-year-olds would go on to be arrested and charged for violent disorder offences, which they all pled guilty to. The adults are due to be sentenced at a later date. The 2 16-year-olds were handed a 12-month and a 6-month referral order. For Carl, however, things weren't as simple as first thought, because believe it or not, he went on the run. You see, Carl had actually lived on 3rd Street, the street where Charlie was stabbed. This is where his mum lived. When she heard the news of the murder, she called Carl as she feared for the worst. After she managed to get a hold of him, he told her that it had nothing to do with him, adding, "Mum, I can't tell you, I'm going on the run. I love you, and I'm going to ditch my phone." He did exactly that, but on the 11th of June, some weeks later, police caught up with him and charged him in connection with the investigation. He denied the charges that were brought against him, but ultimately he was found guilty of murder. He was 17 at the time of his sentencing hearing, but after reporting restrictions were lifted, his identity was revealed, and he was handed a life sentence, which for someone of his age means the minimum term of 16 years in jail. Sadly, Charlie, just by association, had been dragged into this ongoing feud that initially started out over a drunken argument. So again, referring back to my first point at the start of the video, as you can see, alcohol really can amplify certain situations where even after you've sobered up, you still carry on with that bad blood. And again, it's led to someone who wasn't even initially involved in any of this going on to be killed, and he was a father-to-be. Not only now does a child grow up without a father, a mother has also lost her teenage son to jail for a decent length of time now. For now though, give the video a like for more crime-related content like this, and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It's been me, Huncho, and I'll see you in the next one.